Hi, how are you? Uh, Michelle Branch from New York. She's a renowned denim consultant. And
Okay, perfect.
hi, Michelle.
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good, good.
Welcome to you. And first of all, I hope that everyone in your family and friends, everybody is fine, healthy, and safe.
We have had a couple of family members who've caught the virus.
Really?
They are recovering, though. They are on the opposite side of it now. And I have some family members who are medical professionals. So we pray for them every day. But so far, so good. Everybody is alive and on the mend, if not already healthy.
I really hope so, and we pray for you and for everybody to
Thank you.
remain safe and healthy. How's situation in New York? How's everybody coping with the situation, current situation?
Um, It clearly is crazy for everybody. It's unprecedented. And I think initially it was a shock, and now people are kind of settling into their social distancing routines because honestly, this is the only way that it's as big of a pain as it is. It's the only way that we can eradicate it. So, yeah, it's interesting here. New York and New Jersey have been hit pretty hard. My small town of Jersey City, which is right outside of Manhattan, even though it's in another state, we I just read somewhere that we have more cases than 23. Now, my city has more cases than 23 states in the U.S.
Really?
Not combined, but more than 23 individual states.
Wow.
We have about I think a thousand cases.
This is really clearly a very unprecedented situation, and it calls for unprecedented responses from all of us. And at personal level, we all are doing whatever we can in terms of social distancing and other things. But in terms
Absolutely.
of professional response, what is, let's say, as a denim consultant, as a person who is interacting with so many players in the supply chain, from the retailers to the mills to other people, what is your professional response to this?
Well, first of all, everything is shut down right now. So personally, as a creative, I try and make sure I do something creative every single day. A, for my own sanity, and B, to be prepared for when this situation ends, which it will. I think the important thing to look at for all of us, particularly in the denim community where we're very tight and we're very huggy and touchy, and the product is something that I mean, there are times when I personally find it easier to make presentations when I have garments in my hands. It's like a security blanket. And I think those things are they're going to change. I mean, even the lexicon is going to change, shake on it to do a deal. That's not going to happen anymore. I mean, those words will be probably will probably go
Yep.
away as
All
we move more toward a digital way of communicating. And as sad as it is for me, because connection is the thing that I love most, aside from the actual product, connection is the thing I love most about our industry. We're going to have to find other ways to connect. And um, it's going to be interesting. But the good part about this to me is that it came at a time where all of us recognized that we had a problem, and it's giving us an opportunity to hit the reset button that we would have never been able to do in such a quick period of time. I mean, slowly we were moving there, moving there, moving there, but now um, I think this is forcing everyone. There's a saying that the universe wants you to know something and they whisper in your ear. If you don't listen, it'll tap you on your shoulders. And if you don't listen to that, it'll hit you in the head. And that's what's happened to us. So I think it's really an opportunity for all of us to look at how we do things. We don't need to travel nearly as much as we do, but it's become part of our way of doing business. That'll clearly change. And there'll be, and are already, technological ways to develop the product without actually having to touch it all the time. So those are ways I think that it's going to change, and that's good for us.
Yeah, I think it's good for us. And what do you think will become of sustainability in terms of, because we already been moving in that direction? And will the definition of sustainability change in some way? Because we have been talking about waterless, chemical-less, less impact on the environment. Now, I mean, when we are post-COVID, post-corona, is our definition of sustainability going to change?
Of course it will. Well, I say change, it will be enhanced. It'll be bigger because the things that this virus will force us to do, for example, less traveling, that uses less resources already. I think that this is going to kickstart us into having to behave sustainably, whether we want to or not. It's just the way it's going to be. But for example, I just read somewhere where if anybody from genealogy is listening, hey, you guys, thumbs up.
They are
That
doing a
they,
great job. By the way, they are doing a great job.
yeah, and but okay, so they developed the G2 to figure out ways of bleaching products
Sanitization.
more sustainably. But now, because of this virus, that has evolved into a way to sanitize medical equipment. So I feel like the things that we've already been doing will just be ramped up a little bit, and maybe we have to look at things from all different angles. We will still, everybody that I know will still pursue creating products more responsibly. We also need to create less of them, I think.
So we are talking about reduced quantities in and maybe a huge reduction probably.
Yeah, it's going to be painful, for sure, but it it's the right thing to do. I mean, I think that we have to kind of look at it that way. For example, we have models, seasonal models that we've used for decades. But now we have the ability to speak directly to the consumer, right? And get information directly from the consumer. So maybe instead of a 20-piece collection, a denim collection, fabric collection, for example, I'm talking about, or not a fabric collection, a denim collection, we we know that the consumer likes from Instagram or from whatever comes out of this, that they like these five things the most. So we focus on those five things. We don't need to do the other 15 because the five things are the things that are going to sell. So, and so much of these products get made and they get marked down, sold off, end up in landfills. I mean, it, we will have to create less.
So we are cutting the seasons and we are cutting the number of products, the collections that we are making,
We
and
should, saying we are, saying we should.
we should actually, yeah, we should actually, and we are doing it in a much with much greater speed than we were doing before. We were probably doing it before also, but probably now we need to speed it up much faster, and probably seasons are going to become kind of redundant in terms of the impact what the way people used to prepare for the seasons and all. That things are probably are going to be a thing of the past.
Well, I think for the most part, yes. There will still be some seasonal things like sleeveless tops and 5-ounce jeans. Those kinds of things
So
will
all the
probably
woolen jeans,
exactly, or cashmere denim, or
you know,
those
it's,
kinds of things will still remain, but there'll be one or two. They won't be an entire collection. And I
so
think that's the main message.
so if you were right for the moment, let's say if currently we were making 70 to 80% season things per season, as per seasons, probably we might come down to 20, 30%, 20% or something like that.
it would definitely be less. I don't know the exact percentage, and I don't think that there'll be a cutoff. I think it'll be something that
Keeps on.
quickly but gradually will happen.
That's true. One more thing which comes to my mind is that this disease is not really going away so soon. Even if we are coming out of it after 2 months, we are back to our work. Still, this is going to remain till the time we have a really effective vaccine against it, where everyone is vaccinated and everyone is safe. But that might take, let's say, 1.5 to 2 years. So till that time, personal protective equipment, the masks and other things is probably a part of our life. So do you think that this is actually going to create a new category of apparel products where we are creating PPE equipments products in terms of apparel? I've been looking at many pictures. I wanted to show you one picture. Just have a look. So this lady here is having. So what do you think about this? So we are actually probably creating a new fashion category.
I think maybe for the short term, I don't know that. I think a couple of things. One is there are some fashionable ones. There was a company in China. I don't remember exactly the name of it, but they had each of their employees create their own individual ones. And they had like their faces, but it was something around smiling because when you wear a mask, you can't see the smiles. And so everybody had like they digitally printed their smile on top of the mask. And it's cute and it's fun, and we for sure will need it for the short term. But I think what is happening or what will happen probably is that this is a wake up call to make us aware that a pandemic is possible. I don't know that we will wear masks forever. I think out of necessity, it's going to become a category for the short term. I don't know that it will stick around forever in as much as we wear it every day, but we will be able to flip back into it. Like people will find ways of becoming flexible in case it happens again to flip back into it. Just like the G2 machines. That machine will go back to bleaching denim. And then if this happens again, God forbid, we know that it's able to be switched quickly to sanitize equipment. So I think it'll be more about flexibility. I don't imagine jeans factories converting to making masks for the long haul. I hope that doesn't have to happen.
Really, we really hope that. But if you see countries like Japan and other countries in Asia, in 2000, let's say 10 years back, they had this problem of SARS,
Hmm.
and that if you see, masks have become reality in their life.
Yes, yes.
They
But
use it,
not everybody wears it. But
but
yes, you see masks, you don't see it here, but you see it there for sure.
yeah, 20% at least. I think at least 20% people are wearing the mask out there.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
mean that's something. I mean they have learned. I don't know how the people in this part of the world, in our part of the world, and your part of the world will learn about that. But let's see. I mean probably. But what I say is on the internet, on everywhere right now. I mean what we say is that masks, designer masks are coming up. Even I saw yesterday $60 mask, which was quite interesting to see. So I mean that is probably something which might happen. Uh, and
Yeah, I think in the
right,
short term for sure. I think in the short term for sure. And short term meaning a couple of years, like you said, until there is a virus that they know for sure will work. So,
let's say 1.5 years or 2 years max. That's what I'm saying.
right.
And it might also be oxygen supply to the supply chain. I mean it's something to work on when they don't have anything right now.
Like now. Yeah, exactly.
And second thing is, what do you feel about the category of homeware? Because some people are now working from home, and it may also be it may become a sort of a regular practice for many people over the next few months or even a year or 1.5 years when more and more people are working from home. So does that also affect the category of new products, I mean, new category of products which they create for the people to wear at home?
Well, I think that it was, or even before this, it was already, I wear jeans at home, but that's just me. But I think before this, there's a category of indigo knits that
Yeah.
was starting to explode. Everybody was just waiting until they could figure out how to do it more efficiently. So that'll probably grow. Um, I don't I see that category growing, but I don't see it replacing denim because that's more of an emotional purchase too, you know? And jeans
So
are comfortable.
yeah, jeans are comfortable. But at 12 hours, if you're working at 12 hours at home, probably not.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, One more thing is when we are looking at uh, denim wear as a category, home wear as a category, uh, are we looking at knits as the biggest part, or are we also looking at wovens?
Well, I think if you're talking about the comfort aspect of it, their knits would be the biggest, but there are fibers that create a bunch of comfort. Stretch creates a bunch of comfort. I mean, that's a thing about this pandemic is that all of the things that many of the things that we've been doing along the way more slowly, focusing on comfort, stretch that exploded several years ago, Tencel, for example, on the market now, creating comfort everywhere, and it's exploded into denim in the last few years. Those things have already been happening slowly but surely, plugging along. Now everything gets kicked into high gear, just like sustainability. Everything is getting kicked into high gear out of necessity.
This thing is forcing us to review our ways of working,
Yes. Our ways of living.
living, not only working. Living. Yeah, that's true. How the supply chain is going to survive? I mean, what we are hearing is so many orders cancelled, so many stores closed, so many factories closed, workers out of work. What do you think? I mean, what will happen to the supply chain and how they will survive? The people will survive out there.
I think it's going to be hit really hard. The saving grace in some countries will be that from an employment perspective, not an inventory perspective, but there'll be some help from governments, but not every government is going to do that. Those countries where the governments help will kind of ease the way a little bit. And in terms of inventories, I mean, people need to honor their orders. That's the bottom line. They need to honor their orders, even if you know, they ship it longer term. I mean, if you think about the supply chain, there is a top of the food chain and a bottom of the food chain.
Yeah,
And I think that the folks at the top of the food chain are going to have to honor their orders so that when we do recover, there are places to produce things. I mean, they can wipe folks out if they don't. I mean, they need to come together and maybe, take some sort of reduction, but not cancel the whole thing. I mean, there's a million ways that they can handle this, but they need to honor their orders. That's my personal opinion.
absolutely. I mean, that is it's a moral responsibility, and it is also part of the sustainability talks that we have been doing for so many years. And now it's the time to really walk the
Yeah.
talks.
Yeah, the people are part of this, the people is,
Most
is
important part. The most important
yes,
part.
exactly, exactly. And to that point, I think because we're all in this together, right? Not just the supply chain, not just the retailers and brands, but the consumer is also a part of this. They're going to recognize those companies that act responsibly now and that act from a place of humanity. And those that don't, they'll remember that too, I
Yeah.
think. So it behooves everybody.
So what we have been hearing from different talks going around in the world is that okay, many of the retailers might be shut down. Many of the factories, the factories who don't have so much cash flow, they may not survive. And at the end of the day, we'll have retailers who are very strong, surviving, and we have the factories who are very strong, who are surviving, the mills. So, I mean, will that be actually a more balanced situation where we actually are in a over production situation right now? If we talk about till now, what has happened is actually an overproduction. We have been overproducing and overselling and overbuying. So maybe after this rebalancing, we are actually looking at the new balance being created between the supply chain and the entire supply chain.
Mm, I don't know about that. I think that there is a rebalancing that needs to happen for sure. There's that is probably the point of this whole thing. There is a rebalancing that needs to happen for sure. I don't know that if these smaller producers without the cash flows need to go away for that to happen. Maybe they can be absorbed into the larger ones that are nearby, or you know, during the period of time, and there will be a period of time where all of this excess product must be sold and consumed. Um, they need to there needs to be some sort of, when you talk about balance, it has to include the least of us. It has to. Otherwise, this whole thing was just a big waste of time. You know, if this pandemic doesn't show us that we need to care for the folks who have less and figure out a way to absorb them maybe into these larger businesses, or convert them to other, like maybe cotton growers get converted into food sources, or there needs to be a way to make sure that the least of us is protected.
That's
that,
true.
that that's it.
And the workers, that means really the workers down the line on the shop floor, who are the least paid and who are surviving from month to month with the salary.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, let's see. I mean, how much of that is possible to do with the, especially with so many big retailers, kind of putting up their hands. And I mean, we need to see. I mean, how the things will survive in the long run.
Yeah. I think and again, I'm just an individual, tiny company, but I feel like we need to, collectively, we need to change the way we look at these things. And some retailers in particular, I used to work for one. I know that they are very stringent about policies and how things are done. This kind of thinking needs to change. Folks need to be more nimble. They need to be able to move faster, and they need to be more flexible. And I feel like in some instances they're looking at it through the old lens, but our eyes are complete. I have to be completely new now. And yeah, they got to suffer a little bit too. Like all of us are suffering a little bit. I know that there are brands that are furloughing people, um, and some of those workers may probably not come back. So it's going to be a painful couple of years, probably economically. I think from a health perspective, we all got that message, or most of us anyway. But from an economic perspective, we're going to be feeling the effects of this for a long time.
In China, after this uh, disease has been, sort of controlled. Now, what we can see in China, that consumers coming back to shop, they are actually quite happy to shop because they've been confined to their homes for a long time. They're going out, they are going to restaurants, they're going to tourist places and shopping quite a bit. That's what we have. Uh, so, do you think this is a similar response we might have in Western world when, let's say, after 3 months, 2 months, the things are okay? And do you see people rushing to shop and going out? And of course, they will be meeting friends and family and all those things. But do you see them rushing for shopping also?
Well, I think it depends on what part of the world you're talking about because I feel like in the US and in Europe, they're probably going to, I mean, there'll be an aspect of people that just, they have cabin fever and they need to go out. So restaurants probably will see an uptick. But in terms of shopping, I think that people in the West are kind of reevaluating what's important. Do I really need 20 pairs of black boots? Do you know what I mean? So people will start shopping again, but they'll be more mindful about how they shop. I think China has probably a socially they have a different perspective about bling and about shopping and designer and all of that. I think that in the West we will probably think a little bit more about what we buy. We will still buy, but we'll think a little bit more about what we do.
So we'll be noticing a value change in terms of how people think what is important for them in life.
Yes. I mean, otherwise, Sandeep, really, why are we all going through all this pain? If it doesn't change who we are as a society, what is the point of this?
Absolutely.
You know?
It's a lesson from the mother nature for us.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
What are the biggest positives you see from coming out from this situation?
I think the biggest thing, and this is going to sound weird because we're all so apart, but I feel like the biggest thing is that everybody is connecting more. First of all, we have more time to connect. There are people in the industry that I speak to all the time. Trisha, Vivian, Lucia. I mean, there are people that I talk to, Carme, I talk to all the time. But now I have time to reach out to those people in the industry that I never speak, like you. We never talk. We talk once or twice a year, maybe.
Yeah,
So I think that's kind of a positive thing that people are reaching out to each other. That's one thing. The other thing is that it forces us to become a little bit more ingenious about and intentional about thinking when this is over, how do we move forward? And people are coming up with ways to use technology, for example, to help us when we can't get on a plane and fly 15 hours to get to where we need to be to review a sample. So I think that it's using ingenuity and having the time to really sit down and think about those things. We never had the time before because we're moving too fast.
absolutely. In terms of digital usage, definitely that has increased everywhere. As for your business, that is for your business, how easy or difficult you are finding to work digitally, or how fast you are adapting to this digital communication, and do you think, let's say, if we have to continue this for a long period of time, does it work out?
Well, for my business, because most of my clients are in other parts of the world, I work that way anyway. I only really had one major client in New York that I could actually get on the train and go visit, but most of mine are all around the world anyway, so I've always worked this way. I mean, but I still got on a plane and had to go places, but maybe there'll even be less of it, but we found ways digitally to review things.
So most of us will find a solution, digital solutions to this situation where we try to keep our business going on and use digital means to do that if we are
Yeah.
not able to.
Yes. And these scientific geniuses will come up with new ways for us to do that.
Now they are the ones who really are working very hard right now,
Yes.
creating new solutions, the IT people and others.
And we
So
need them.
we need that, and maybe we might reach a day when we can feel that, get the touch on our phones for the fabric. Let's say if you're showing a fabric to me and I'm touching that and feeling that. So
Wow.
it,
Now that
people are
would be,
working, people are working on it. people are working on it actually.
Wow, now that would be something. I'd be interested in seeing that for sure, or feeling that.
Yeah, there are a group of scientists who are working on it in some countries, and we never know when that solution comes out.
That's right. That's right.
So let's hope for the best. And Michelle, I thank you. And I just wanted to know if you want to say anything else to so many of our friends who are online and watching you.
Yes, I miss you guys. I hope you all soon. I do miss my denim community. We are a tight knit group, and we will get through this together for sure.
And we'll get back soon. We'll fight
Yes,
it out and we'll get back soon.
yes.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you, Sandeep. Be safe, huh? Wash your hands. Remember, wash your hands.
Yes, definitely. Namaste. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.